Thank you, and I bring you greetings from Grace Bible College. And where yesterday our men's basketball team captured their 4th straight regional championship in southern Wisconsin, defeating Maranatha Baptist Bible College. And the guys' team is still ranked number 1 in the nation, undefeated in the last 2.5 years in the nation. So it's very exciting. When you think about it, we're a school of 190. Maranatha is about 500, and about every school we play is bigger than we are. So it's very quite and I will say this, beyond the talent, the one thing that on the campus we have really appreciated about all of our athletic teams, of course, since I'm the volleyball coach, I include all of them, but particularly with the men's team, because of notoriety, front page newspaper articles, these guys are still pretty humble. And the students appreciate the fact they're in chapel, and they're participating in activities on campus. They're not just at school to play basketball, but they're in school to develop their spiritual character. And that means a lot. It should mean more than just the athletic talent. And but we're very pleased and very happy with them, and that's where I was yesterday. So it was a very exciting time. In 2 weeks, going to the national tournament in Springfield, Missouri, and competing for a 2nd straight national championship, having won it last year. Looking forward again to this year. I must confess that I was a little confused for a minute when I saw some of you walking up and putting money in the basket on the piano. I asked Ethan if that was a tip for the piano player. And, and I said, "Where's his?" And he said, "He'll open his guitar case." So, we'll put that up here. Believe me, they're going to need it for diapers. So, you can think about that. And I have to say something else, too. When I came in, this was on the podium there, and I was here in December, and if you remember, I preached a sermon on anticipation, and I talked about never getting the buck knife that I'd asked for when I was a kid, and so I came in, and here on the podium is the buck knife, and so Ethan, thank you. That's quite a gift, and if that's what the power of sermons do. I've always dreamed of a Sebring convertible, and I never gotten it. I've driven junk cars, but never gotten that Sebring. So, I'll be preaching here next week. So hopefully, we'll see something show up. But thank you. That's quite touching. Dad, I got the buck knife. So I'm going home and chopping up a bunch of bolts. You can do that with the buck knife. Cuts through steel, doesn't dull the blade. So I'm going to be using it. And a lifetime warranty too, so that's even more impressive. Ray, I don't know if you can do this, but can you put on there the last slide for the More Than Enough on there? And just put on the last slide on there of the song More Than Enough. I had a privilege of speaking at Grand Rapids South Christian High School in Chapel, and one of the girls that was introducing me had been to a camp that I had spoke at. And I asked her, I said, I'd like for you to introduce me, but I want you to read this introduction. And when you're reading it, don't laugh, because she knew me. Don't laugh, just read it seriously and read it in its fullest context. And so she said, okay, she did. And so Kim stood up there, and South Christian High School is one of the larger Christian high schools, about 800 to 900 students, so the chapel was full, and I'm sitting in this back chair on this big platform, and she gets up, and this is what she reads. I'd like to introduce to you Dr. John R. Spooner. Dr. Spooner was born in Japan, the only son of General Art Spooner, the U.S. ambassador to Japan. John's family moved to Alaska, where John became the first 3-year, 3-sport, all-state athlete in Alaska State high school history. John then received a full-ride basketball scholarship to Notre Dame University, where he became a 3-time All-American. After college, Dr. Spooner played 4 years with the then Kansas City Kings in the NBA. After a severe knee injury cut his pro career short, John went back to Notre Dame University, receiving doctorates in New Testament literature, the Coptic language, and education. John is currently on staff at Grace Bible College. Would you please welcome Dr. John R. Spooner? And I have to tell you, I'm sitting here, and I'm getting up to stand, and the applause And the cheering of these high school kids was overwhelming. So I just sat there absorbing this moment of euphoria, knowing that it was totally false, and knowing I was going to have to stand up and tell the truth. But I thought, I want to enjoy the lie just for a few more seconds. So the cheers are going on, so I walked up the podium and I said, today I would like to speak with you about the fine line between who we project we are and the reality of who we truly are in our hearts. By the way, the only thing true that Kim read, my dad's name is Art. I was born in Japan. I went to high school in Alaska. I visited Notre Dame University one time. And I do work at Grace Bible College. And there were a few boos. There were a few, most of the kids got it. And afterwards, one of the kids came up to me and he shook my hand and he said, I thought you were a pretty cool dude till you told the truth. But you think about it, the reality of what we project to people around us is so true, isn't it? We have this image that we seek to project. Is it any wonder in the Old Testament story when Samuel was pursuing the king of Israel? You all know this. When God said to him, Samuel, man looks on the outward appearance, I look on the heart. Now, it's not a criticism. It's not God saying to Samuel, Samuel, you as humans are so foolish. He is saying, really, you as humans, basically, all you really can see is the outward appearance of what people project. You as a human, you cannot know the truth of a person's heart. Only God can know that. So he really wasn't criticizing Samuel. This morning, what I would like to speak on is that idea, that concept of going beyond just the outward appearance. Going beyond and getting to the real story. I'm dating myself, although I never listened to him, but there was a famous guy on the radio named Paul Harvey. You ever remember that? And he had this, and actually before talk radio, it was one of the most popular radio programs in all of history. And it was the idea, now you know the rest of the story. Remember those? I have to admit, I used them in sermons. They were awesome. They start off with these just bland descriptions, and all of a sudden it's like, whoa, I can't believe that happened. Beyond it, now you know the rest of the story. Look at this slide. And all of you is more than enough for all of me. Every thirst, every need, you satisfy me with your love. And all I have in you is more than enough. I love the phrase earlier when it says that you are still more awesome than I know. Do you think we will ever know the fullness of God's awesome glory? No. Never. Some people wonder about heaven and eternity. Will it get boring? No. Because you'll spend every second discovering something new about who God is himself, his character. We see the outward majesty of God in creation, but we spend eternity discovering how he is more than enough. And he will be more than enough even in eternity. But think about that phrase. More than enough for all of me. How do you know that? How do you know that? What's the truth? What's the rest of the story behind singing a phrase like that? We see things. We know about things. But do we really know the core of those things? You see this? What is this to you? Cross, right? This is a cross. If you looked at it closely, you would see it's obviously been handmade by someone. But there's not one of you in this room, you would look at this and say, oh, that's a piece of wood and a cross, and you know what it symbolizes, so that's pretty powerful. But you don't know behind the real meaning of this. I have a picture on here of a camp, some students at a camp in California that I spoke at last summer. One of the uncles of this student is a recovering alcoholic. Has been for 35 years.